is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Sorry about the delay. Was having a little bit of having some technical difficulties. Why I don't have a green screen back there. I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm excited. Got my guy Authentic on the channel. It's been way too long since Authentic and I worked together, so I want to thank you for coming on the channel tonight, man. I really do appreciate it. It was last minute notice. I contacted him this morning, and he's the man. So he's like, yeah. Come on. The man just did a show as well, so hardworking guy. If you guys haven't subscribed to Authentic, I know my mods will drop the link throughout the stream, but it's the first thing down below in the description. Sub them up. Authentic, if they don't know you, tell them a little bit about yourself. Tell them about your channel. Tell them where to find you, how you became a Giants fan, all that good stuff.
Definitely, man. First off, appreciate you having me on your channel again, man, and extending your network. That's major for me. I'm on the come up right now. I'm an artist, producer, music producer. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. I always tell people that gives me a very different perspective on the New York Giants. This year, I've been podcasting, doing a live show. We call it the Best TV Show Not on TV. That's with my co-host, The Beard, who's a Washington football team fan. I'm, of course, a New York Giants fan. And we've been doing 4 days a week this year, man, really grinding out. We just hit over about 2,100 subs and whatnot. It's very high quality content. I definitely pride myself in bringing people high quality content. I come from the production background, beats. I've worked with a lot of artists from New York. Very tapped into the hip hop scene, super heavy, man. And yeah, again, man, definitely appreciate you having me on, and can't wait to just chop it up, talk New York Giants, and see where we're gonna go moving forward.
Absolutely. Let's say hello to a few people in the chat. I see a hater immediately saying, this is my favorite. We got a guy in here that says Giants suck. Yeah, that's great analysis. I don't think you're going to get an argument.
He deserves a job.
Yeah, exactly. You should be on ESPN. Anyway, Carl Wilkinson, no Mets, no Nets, no Jets, Waterfly, Stan Albert. What's that?
That's my fam right there. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets.
There
That's
you
fam
go.
Right there. Day one.
Cowboy Nation, Simon Coleman, Vic Tube, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. The Beard is in the house representing. Mike Clark, what's going on? My man Punkum, Baddog, the GOAT. What's up, buddy? All the way from the UK at 3:05 in the morning. This guy's insane. This guy's in all my Lakers streams, 3 o'clock in the morning, and my man from the UK is in the house.
That's dedication.
It is. Dire Giants fan. Thank you for dropping a link to Authentic's channel. Luann, Cody Gents, Anthony Zayas, Darth Plagueis, Sebastian Guerrier, Barnes, Waterfly, Nelly. What's going on? KP, Sean G, Dontello. I'm not even going to try to say that. Fox Alking, I guess. Don't go ahead and botch it. Stephen Lilly, another guy from across the pond at 3:05 in the morning. The UK guys are dedicated, man.
Gangster.
I don't know what else to say. So, all right. So here we go. We had a terrible 2021 season. I have been on record saying it's probably the worst season that I've had to deal with as a Giants fan. I started actually questioning if I could do another year of Joe Judge and this team because it emotionally killed me this year. Obviously, it was disappointing for all Giants fans. If I were to ask you what was the most disappointing aspect of this team, it could be a player, it could be the coach, it could be a combination of things. What would you say you were most disappointed in as far as the Giants in 2021?
That's a good question, and I haven't been asked that yet since we've seen this failure of a season for sure. For me, it's the weapons. I got to keep it funky with you. I know the offensive line was a major letdown as well, but I think the expectation for the offensive line wasn't that high going into the year. For me, after last year, 2020, everybody knew the offense was ranked 31st in the NFL. We had to go out there and get our quarterback some help. We got him the help, and they just couldn't stay healthy all season long. So for me, yeah, that's the biggest letdown. These weapons, you're looking at a quarterback that barely put up 10 touchdowns. Odell Beckham has been with the Rams now for 8 weeks. He's got more touchdowns than our whole entire wide receiver room. That's unacceptable when you spend in $72 million on a guy like Kenny Galladay. You spend a first-round draft pick on a guy like Kadarius Toney. And these guys barely on the field. So I got to say, for me, it's the weapons have been the biggest letdown because the expectation was probably the highest for us going into this 2021 season.
That's a great answer because if somebody were to ask me that, I definitely would have said it was Kenny Galladay. $72 million, had less touchdowns. Well, let's face it. He had as many touchdowns as you and I did. And everybody in the chat. The guy got $72 million, didn't score a touchdown. Our first-round pick, Kadarius Toney, as many touchdowns as you and I did. Everybody in the chat didn't score a touchdown. Our left tackle had more receiving touchdowns than the $72 million receiver in our first-round pick. You're not going to win many games like that. Baddog the GOAT, appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. He says, I got to be here. I appreciate it, man. It's like I said, and that is absolute dedication. What were your thoughts on Joe Judge? Like me, last year, I loved Joe Judge. I think a lot of people did. I think a lot of people were high on Joe Judge, felt like he had us turn in a corner with a good second half of last season. Michael K was on rent, called him Gold Jacket Joe. And then this season, it completely fell apart. And I don't know what it is. Last year, I loved the guy. Week 1, I killed him for throwing a challenge flag, and I never let up. There was a joke going around at the beginning of the year before the season started, said, when Chris and I were doing the show, they said, Baddog, who do you think Baddog's first rant is going to be on? Everyone's like, it's going to be Daniel Jones. It's going to be Daniel Jones. Then I did a video, and they're like, never saw a Joe Judge rant coming first. Me, I think Joe Judge believed his own hype a little bit. I think this happened to Ben McAdoo in 2017 as well. I think he got a little cocky. I think he got a little arrogant. He was inflexible, which was my biggest problem with him. Everything he did was a failure. The offense was stagnant the entire season. He never wanted to move from his approach, and it ended up killing us. I mean, what were your thoughts on Joe Judge throughout this season?
Yeah, I think I was right where you were at, exiting last season. A lot of wins in the back half of a season can definitely instill some confidence in a fan base moving into the next year, especially with a rookie head coach, which is kind of why I've been kind of giving Sirianni a bit of a long leash here with the Philadelphia Eagles as well, because, he's a first-year coach, got a first-year quarterback there in the playoffs. Giants we just missed that last season. With everything on the line, we beat the Dallas Cowboys for our 6th win. And things were looking up. We were thinking we could possibly get a playoff berth there until the Eagles did their little tank job, the Nate Sudfeld thing and whatnot. But as far as Joe Judge, I think a lot of it is self-inflicted wounds with him, because the fan base, he had the fan base. He really had a good grip on the fan base after the first year. People were very, very, very invested in him. And, the whole, I'd say, tough guy kind of mentality was working that first season. But then when you start to see things unravel, and I think when you start to see things unravel, this doesn't just apply to football either. This applies for life. You want to see somebody's will kick in. Where does their backbone actually stand? And when will that kick in? And for a guy like Joe Judge, I got to agree with Mayor on this a little bit, where he was saying it just got so bad, that they didn't see no hope or no outs for the New York Giants to be able to come up out of this. And I felt the same way towards the end of the year. I think, firing Jason Garrett, right after the bye and whatnot, maybe a game after the bye, whatever it was, I think they should have maybe put that off just a little bit longer. If they fired Jason Garrett around week 13, I think it buys Joe Judge a lot more time. The team could kind of look like they're in shambles a little bit, to kind of end the season. And I don't think they would have been calling for his job as much. I think that if he had to do with the firing of Jason Garrett, they did it just a little bit too early, because now you're telling me we got to rely on Freddie Kitchens. And I know we're dealing with a backup quarterback here, but I've been watching Giants football for a long time, like 30 years now. I've never seen them put out an offensive product that bad like what we saw the last couple of weeks of the season. You're looking at two different starting quarterbacks, each week putting up 25 yards grand total. That does not make any sense. So I think, as far as the front office goes, they're looking at it like, our coach is falling apart under the adversity. When you really look for the coach to be the strength of a bad team, when you look at the Lions and you look at Dan Campbell, you go, oh, that coach is fighting for his squad. When you looked at Joe Judge at the end of the year, especially during that 11-minute rant, it was like a guy who was literally out there with selfish vibes, looking to only spare himself, rarely putting the blame on himself when we know a lot of this was on him. You bring in Freddie Kitchens to call plays, and that offense definitely took a step back, which sounds like it's almost virtually impossible when we were dealing with Jason Garrett throughout the year and the offense struggling throughout the whole entire year. So for me, I think that the firing was definitely warranted, and it had to be done. It kind of reminds me of how people used to say about Odell Beckham, great player, fantastic, but the trade almost had to happen because of what was happening in New York. And Joe Judge trying to build the whole culture thing, I think that's a decent approach, but now in hindsight, looking at it, I'm looking at it like this, man. The culture is secondary to the team. The team, if you're winning games, people aren't going to question the culture. You can have bad guys in your locker room that aren't necessarily the, most outstanding citizens in society, but as long as they're getting W's, people aren't really going to care about that. And we all know in football, man, winning solves everything. And right now, with the way that that Mara went on about firing Joe Judge, it kind of says a lot to me about what was happening with the GM situation as well, too, that Joe Judge probably had some kind of a play or some kind of a place with picking players and things like that. I know a lot of people want to kind of put it all on Gettleman and say like Gettleman was bringing in bad players, drafting bad players and things like that. But I do think that this was a dual type of effort between Gettleman and Joe Judge, who both deserve to be fired for real.
Yeah, for me, it was Joe Judge didn't coach any of the players up. I mean, I know that Gettleman didn't do the best job. That's pretty obvious. He said he was going to fix the offensive line. He never did it. But I never saw Joe Judge coach a player up. I never saw players getting better under his watch. And there was just things that he did. I did a video when Jason Garrett got fired. I said, don't expect miracles. Freddie Kitchens ain't coming in here and working miracles. This is Joe Judge's team. Joe Judge has the last say, and the conservative nature of their offense was Joe Judge. I mean, how many times was he in enemy territory, 4th and short, and he punted the ball away?
Right.
It was that type of thing. And I kept saying the entire year, he fired Colombo, he fired Garrett, he's taking shots at Shermer and Ron Rivera. And I said, you can keep throwing these bodies under the bus, but eventually it's going to run you over. And eventually it did run him over. To me, I mean, you're 4-12, you're down 3-0. You run 2 quarterback sneaks on 2nd and 11th or 9. It made no sense. He's like, these players don't quit. These players don't quit. I'm like, but you just quit. You might as well forfeit at that point because you're telling Washington, we can't beat you. We can't do anything. I have no faith in any of my players. It's almost like he was playing to get fired. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And like you said, I've never seen a worse offense. Against the Bears, the Giants had a total of minus 10 yards passing because obviously sacks go against your passing yards.
Right.
Then that's the lowest in 20 years or the lowest of the 21st century. It just continued to get more and more embarrassing. And I kept saying all year, every time you thought it couldn't get worse, it got worse. And John Mara echoed that. And I like to hear I like to hear John Mara admit, hey, yes, this was really bad. And we have to wipe it clean. And you start to see now they're going outside the organization, looking at GMs from the Bills and the 49ers. Well, not GMs, assistant GMs and personnel from the 49ers. I guess Poles and Shane each had second interviews. I have a feeling it's going to be Joe Shane and
that's what I'm thinking too.
Dave Poles going to come over here with him. I have or Dave Bowl. I have a feeling they're going to come over together for sure. Isaac, not even a super chat. Appreciate it. He said, no, it's not all his fault, but DJ's been a huge letdown. Watching Josh Allen was depressing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Authentik and I are on the same page. Not the biggest Daniel Jones fan. Let me get through a couple more of these, then I'm going to ask your question, ask your opinion on Daniel Jones. Steven, thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it. 7 years, Giants coaches, all frauds except Pat Graham. I agree. They're pretty bad coaches. This is why we don't do it. It's why these players don't get any better here. Mike, thank you so much for the super chase. The Baddog and the coolest breeze. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, buddy?
My
Good
guy.
to see you. Room turn 37. Rad Rob. That's from The Shining. You don't go, what, Mr. Halloran, what's in room 237? Don't you ever go in room 237. Thank you for the super chat. Says, can we retroactively draft Josh Allen from 2018?
That would be fire.
Hindsight being 2020. Yeah, it'd be great. Dire Giants fan, they go to super chat. The abyss had it at the bottom. Reset button needed. I think we did. I think the quarterback sneaks against Washington were rock bottom. Fred, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. He says, I know Baddog and Tana don't like it, but Brian Daboll is going to turn Malik Willis into the next Josh Allen. We'll be happy in 3 years. Let me ask you about Daniel Jones.
I like that.
Let me ask you about Daniel Jones. Now, there is talk that these guys do like Malik Willis, and they had scouts, like 4 scouts out there watching Liberty football. So obviously they must be interested in Malik Willis.
Yeah.
I know Daniel Jones ain't the future of this franchise. I know he's not. He's not going to have his 5th-year option picked up. They got no attachment to him. The new regime coming in there, he's going to be going after, at least at the most after this year. I don't want a quarterback with a top 10 pick. Don't want it. I think that we still need to build the trenches. This offensive line is absolutely pathetic. People talking about Malik Willis. I've been watching plays on him. And I look at the Ole Miss game, and they get killed. And the comments all read, oh, he's got no talent. Oh, there's no talent around him. There's no talent. He's got no offensive line. Mississippi's better talent. The Giants are the Liberty of the NFL. Everybody else is an Ole Miss. We have no talent here. Yeah, Kenny Golladay is a nice talent. He didn't do anything. We have no tight ends. We have no offensive line. We got a running back in his fifth-year option. We don't know what the hell he is. You got Devontae Booker. You got Kadarius Toney. We don't know what the hell he is. You can't say healthy. You don't have Sterling Shepard. We have no wide receivers going into the year. We got Golladay and Toney. And who else? So to me, if you brought Malik Willis into this situation, he's going to really struggle. Now, they could do one thing here. They could draft him and sit him behind Daniel Jones for a year, which I think if they're going to draft Malik Willis, that would be the best case scenario because Daniel Jones does not cost that much. But I would be afraid you're going to stunt Malik Willis's growth if you put him behind a terrible offensive line and he's getting killed like he did at Liberty. So for me personally, I would like the Giants to take 2 offensive linemen, maybe even 3 with the first 3 picks. Just suck it up in 2022 when your cap situation is a lot better. You can take draft picks or whatever you got to do and get a quarterback in 2023. That's just where I look at it. But I know Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis are hot names, and it is very possible that the new regime goes in that direction. Your opinion on the quarterback situation going into 2022?
Okay, I'll start with Daniel Jones, and I definitely don't want people to get this misconstrued and think that I'm ragging on Daniel Jones. Baddog will vouch for this, that the last 2 seasons I was high on Daniel Jones. I thought he had the skill set to be able to be the franchise quarterback, not necessarily a franchise quarterback. But I just think that Daniel Jones at this moment in his career, you're seeing what it is. He's an average quarterback. I also think that they tried to put him within a scheme that really doesn't match his play style. Like, Daniel Jones has speed, but he is not agile. When people list mobile quarterbacks and they list Daniel Jones, I completely disagree with that. He's not a mobile quarterback. He can run, but imagine the Green Bay Packers, and I'm not comparing Daniel Jones necessarily to the arm strength of a guy like Aaron Rodgers, but I'm comparing the legs. Imagine them running RPO with Aaron Rodgers. It would make absolutely no sense. Now, I know that this offense struggles to try to find ways to garnish and generate yards for sure, but you can't be that desperate where you're putting your quarterback in harm's way. 3 seasons in a row now, we've seen 3 injuries from Daniel Jones. And that can't happen. We all know we had Eli Manning, the most available quarterback ever. He was always durable, and his availability was one of his best abilities and why he's so high up on the stat rankings as far as quarterbacks go all time. Daniel Jones is just an average quarterback. People say Ryan Tannehill is the ceiling of a Daniel Jones. I don't even think it's that high. I think it's a little bit lower because between the ears, a guy like Ryan Tannehill is very smart, great decision maker, takes care of the ball, knows when to run, when to tuck it, when to slide, things like that, where Daniel Jones has problems with those basic kind of necessities to be even a bare minimum mobile quarterback. So I like Daniel Jones. I think he can do some things, but at this moment in time, he's not the franchise guy, and we know that. To extend him to a 5th-year option would be silly at this point in time, which leads me to my other point. It's more reason to go down there and get your quarterback right now if you think Malik Willis is the guy. Now, I've looked at highlights myself. I've seen throws from Malik Willis where he throws the ball 68 yards in the air. I mean, that most quarterbacks can't do things like that. We've seen quarterbacks struggle with arm talent. Malik Willis can run the ball like a guy like a Jalen Hurts, it seems like. I'd say that'd be the minimum style of his running play. He kind of looks like a Mike Vick, but we know those kind of players only come around once in a while. So I'm not going to compare a guy from Liberty to a guy like Mike Vick that's that decorated. But the upside looks like it's there. The skill set seems to be there. If I'm going to go out there and draft a quarterback this year, I'm much more willing to take the risk on a guy like Malik Willis over a guy like Kenny Pickett because I feel like Kenny Pickett might put us in the same kind of problems we're in right now with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not the problem per se, okay? He's not the guy you blame and say that's the reason why the Giants' offense is so bad, but he's also not the reason why we're winning games. So he's pretty much a null when it comes to playing the position of quarterback. In the NFL, the most important position is quarterback. We know that. That's why they get paid the top dollar. That's why they get paid the most money. Look at the teams in the playoffs right now. Outside of Jimmy Garoppolo, you pretty much got the best quarterbacks still remaining. I'd say Justin Herbert at home is another one of the better quarterbacks who's sitting at home right now, and they just missed the playoffs just barely. Look at the Colts situation. Carson Wentz had a pretty decent year. I'll give him his props on that. But he's not the kind of quarterback that elevates his team to be better than what they are and make plays above and beyond the X's and O's. And for me, I'm looking for that in New York. We really haven't had that in forever. I mean, Eli Manning was a guy who made some clutch plays, but throughout the regular season, Eli Manning was pretty much a, I'd say above a game manager, but, he wasn't doing things that were just like totally above and beyond. Solid quarterback. Eli Manning is no Daniel Jones by no means, but I'm looking for a guy who can make those plays. I feel like in this day and age in the NFL, things are changing. You're seeing guys come out here at the quarterback position and almost redefine it. The better quarterbacks nowadays are very mobile and also have big arms. I think 10 years ago, we thought the quarterback was leaning more towards a running type of style, and we've seen it now with these unicorns like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in Buffalo. I mean, these guys can do it all. You're looking at Josh Allen, a guy who ran for 750, threw for 4,000, the first player to ever do that. That's some unicorn type stuff. And even in the playoffs, you saw it from both these guys, 5 touchdowns. If you can get a guy at the quarterback position, I think it changes everything. Now, if you don't draft a quarterback in 2021 or 2022 draft, then you're going to go into 2023 without Daniel Jones on the 5th-year option. So that would mean that you're going to have to pay him the big bag to keep him around if he has a good year, or you're going to be starting a rookie quarterback. Look at the rookie quarterbacks that have been thrusted in there. You're looking at Trevor Lawrence, a guy who was literally like the most top prospect you've seen at the quarterback position in the last 10 years, probably since Andrew Luck. He's not even playing as good a football as Davis Mills is in Houston right now. So we know just drafting a quarterback is a risk. You got to know it's the guy. Don't go out here reaching, trying to pull another Daniel Jones and draft us a guy from Liberty at 6 or, I forget what pick we have this year. I think it's 5 and 7 maybe.
Yes. Yep.
You can't reach, obviously. But if you think he's the guy and you think he can fit within your system, I think that's very important to not miss on him, because just like that super chat that just came in a little while ago, somebody said, hey, can we go rewind time and go back and get Josh Allen? We don't want to be saying that in 2025 and looking at a guy like Malik Willis quite possibly maybe being in the same division. If we pass up on him, maybe Washington goes out there and gets him and have to reap with him just torching us for the rest of his career. I would hate to see that. We've already passed up and missed up on some fantastic players. It's going to start with this offensive coordinator and this head coach for sure, because you got to find ways to scheme up. When you look at the Cincinnati Bengals before Joe Burrow got over there, you could say the same stuff you said about the Giants in the intro of this question. No weapons, literally no one to rely on. They go out there, they drafted a tackle before they got Joe Burrow, then they get Joe Burrow, and then they get Jamar Chase. And the rest is history. Now they're in the playoffs, and they're looking like a team that's going to be one of those teams that built their team very differently than the status quo, just like the Los Angeles Rams are. The Los Angeles Rams, they didn't build that team traditional, starting from the trenches and whatnot. You can't forget 2016, they traded everything for Jared Goff before McVay got there. And now McVay has wheeled and dealed every one of those first-round picks, and you're looking at a team right now that's about to contend for the Super Bowl, 4 straight divisional playoff games. I mean, they're doing it up. Actually, I correct myself. I think it's 3 out of 4 divisional games for the Rams. So I think it's important. It's very important. The quarterback position is the #1 position on the field. And I'll say it again, that's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, if Malik Willis is going to come in, they have to be sold on him, and they got to make sure, if that's what they want to do, that they're building a game plan around his strengths, because we haven't seen it with Joe Judge having to build no game plan around Daniel Jones' strengths. Daniel Jones is not a runner. Like you said, people are like, oh, he's a runner. No, he can run on set running plays. He's not a scrambler. He has terrible pocket awareness, pocket presence, can't climb the pocket, can't avoid the rush, can't step up in the pocket, can't field, can't roll out. He's never been able to figure that out. I was very high into his rookie season because I felt the same way. I'm like, he's got a good skill set. He can run a little bit. He's got a good arm. He's pretty accurate. He's got a better arm than people thought he did. But he always processed slow. He's a one-read quarterback. Pat the ball when he got nervous and couldn't feel anything around him, and he was always late. He was late. It was like he processed too slow. And if you're that slow in the NFL, it's too late. People are like,
oh, with Kyler Murray in the playoffs, who's a guy who processes pretty quick, but with pressure in his face, you saw a guy who was really off his game and looked a little bit skittish when the pressure was coming towards him. That interception that he threw in his own end zone, it almost looked like he wasn't even going to get hit to the ground. He just kind of panicked and just like, here, Carson Wentz.
He did panic. Yeah, but that's what I thought Daniel Jones may be able to learn, but I also said that I felt like that worried me more than anything else, the inability to process quick enough, because it's not something that can be coached. That's instinctual, and you can talk to them till you're blue in the face, hey, do this, do this, do this, but you're always going to go back to your own instincts. And I always felt like he's just a split second too slow, And that's why you can say, the receivers aren't open. But if that cornerback's reading your eyes and they can break on the ball, they're going to close the gap incredibly quick. The speed differential between college and the NFL is night and day. So, yeah, I agree. But that was my biggest thing with Daniel Jones, and I hope that he fixed it, but he never did.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want a quarterback, but if this new regime believes in Malik Willis, I'm not going to react like he did when we drafted Daniel Jones. I can tell you that. Like I said, I feel like we need an offensive line really bad, but if they go out there and they get another quarterback, again, I'm not going to sit here and flip shit and start screaming my head off because he did it. I'm going to trust him.
And listen to this too. There's this option as well. We got 10 draft picks, right?
Yes.
I've been seeing people on Twitter, people talk the craziest on Twitter saying use 10 of them to go get all the offensive linemen you can possibly get, which is just absolutely crazy, right? But what you could do with these 10 picks is pair up 2 of them and trade back into the first round.
Yep.
If you think Malik Willis might fall to, let's say, like 14, 15, 16, you could totally trade back and get rid of maybe a 4th and a 5th or a 3rd and a 4th and try to get back into the first round again and get your quarterback and your 2 linemen and maybe your edge rusher. Who knows? You got a lot of options here, I feel like, with 10 picks that it's not just predicated on we have to go out here and just draft offensive linemen. We can't forget, right? We pushed the panic button last season on the wide receiver room. Remember, we were like, Darius Slayton is pretty much playing the #1 wide receiver here on the New York Giants. We need help at the wide receiver position, so let's go out here. I was one of them. I was like, yo, go out here and double dip in the draft, go out here and get a free agent, and make sure that wide receiver room is correct. Now, we go into this season, I thought we over-invested in the wide receiver room when we brought in guys like John Ross and also some other pass catchers like Kyle Rudolph as well.
And then
look at it, week 8, you're looking at it like the Giants can't even dress a full wide receiver core. The last week of the season, we got Kenny Galladay out there with David Sills out there because of people getting hurt. And I think that had a lot to do with the scheme, too. I know you played ball. I played ball, too. When I played wide receiver, running the comeback route, I hated that route. To me, that's a route to get you set up. Every time you make that catch, you're going to get tackled. Yep. I like the vertical routes, the post corners, things like that. You get to see everything out in front of you. So I do think a lot of these injuries and with these wide receivers have a lot to do with the explosiveness that it takes to run a comeback route and an out route, planting that tough. And guys like Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay, they couldn't stay healthy all year. And John Ross started off the year on IR, so I think there's never enough of depth on a team. And we got to address that on this team. I think it's very important. You could go into this year with Daniel Jones at quarterback, no problem. I think a rookie like Malik Willis would benefit not from learning from Daniel Jones, but from learning from the coaches and just sitting on the bench.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, I would not have a problem with that at all. My biggest issue would be throwing Malik Willis out there with not a good team. This is not a good team, and it's not going to be fixed in one season. But we can say if Dave Gettleman did anything correctly, he did set us up with a lot of draft picks this year, and we have like 5 picks in the top 77 or something. So he did set us up for that. We got to hope whoever our GM is and the new head coach did it right.
Yeah.
Let me get a few of these. Kerm, thank you for the $1. Boom. I appreciate it. Big Key, thank you for the super chat. What's your opinion on Flores and Watson? I don't think Brian Flores is going to be the head coach here for the simple fact that I do think whoever the GM is going to bring in one of his own guys. However, I love Deshaun Watson. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL.
Facts.
If he was cleared of all charges and was not going to be suspended, I'm all in on Deshaun Watson because I know what Deshaun Watson is. Deshaun Watson's only 25 years old. He's not even in his prime. They lost DeAndre Hopkins. He was in a terrible situation. He used to put up the best numbers of his career with 33 touchdowns and 7 picks. He can run. He can throw. He can do everything. That man is ultra talented. Yep. Ultra talented. So there's no question. We talk about you're always taking a risk on a quarterback in the draft. The only thing you're taking a risk on him is this off the field crap. But like I said, if that's cleared and he's good to go, you give me Deshaun Watson all day.
What would you be willing to give up for it? Would you give up these 2 first rounders?
I'm not giving up both. Not giving up 2. I would give up number 5 and maybe a future first and a second. Totally. I'm not giving him 2 because you don't know. And maybe his draft, maybe his trade value is a little bit lower than normal. I'm not giving up 2 top 10 picks. No.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. If you could, pair it up with a first rounder from the following year and one of them from this year to bring in a guy who you absolutely know without a doubt is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, yeah, I would take any shot at that. I would even consider giving up the 2 first-rounders this year. It would be a thought. Like, if that was presented to me on the table, hey, 2 first-rounders from this year for Deshaun Watson or nothing else, I'm going to be thinking long and hard about that for a couple of days for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Because, again, you know what he can do already without an offensive line. Because you want to talk about a guy that elevates the players around him to be better and elevates a team and wins games? It's a guy like Deshaun Watson. Because, like I said, top 5 in this league, absolute elite quarterback. Yeah, I would. Yeah, again, I don't want to give that up.
Twice, in his career. He's only been in the league for 4 years, and 2 of those years he was sacked almost 50 times. Reminds me a lot of Joe Burrow right now, who this year, I believe he was sacked 52 times this year, but he's still putting up major numbers. So all that complaining about the offensive line and all that stuff, sometimes you just got to look for a guy to go above and beyond that.
Yeah. I mean, the talk about Russell Wilson, no, I don't want Russell Wilson, because by the time the players develop around Russell Wilson, you're going to be my age. I don't want that.
Right. And if it's 2 first-rounders for Deshaun Watson, it shouldn't be 2 first-rounders for Russell Wilson. I'll just keep it funky,
Yeah. Yeah. He's in the middle of his, and why would he want to come here at this point? He's getting towards the twilight of his career. He's going to want to win. Giants don't have to win yet, but if you got a Deshaun Watson, you are definitely headed in the right direction, because he hasn't even hit his prime yet. So and like I said, he's one of my favorite players in the league. Him and Kyler Murray those are 2 guys I just absolutely loved in college, still do. I just hope Deshaun Watson gets his whatever the hell is going on with him. I hope everything clears. And if nothing, even if he's not with the Giants, I just love watching him play.
Yeah.
Avery, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. DJ's been injured because he knows the offense is bad. He's trying to do anything he can to win or score. Get him 2 offensive line in the first 5 the first 7 picks. I mean, I don't think that's why he's getting injured. Some guys are just injury prone. I mean, Saquon Barkley's not getting injured because the offense is bad. He tore his ACL. Daniel Jones leads with his head too much. Doesn't know how to slide. I said that in the Dallas game before he got concussed. I told Chris, well, he ran one player, said, I don't like the way he lowers his head. He's going to get hurt. And sure enough, he did on the goal line. He got hurt. He's not – he doesn't have a very high football IQ in a game situation. To me, he doesn't. It's not his skill set. It is his processing, his ability to read defenses, his ability to audible the line of scrimmage, change blocking schemes, and get everybody where they need to be for the best situation, like Eli Manning did. Because I brought this up before too, and I know Barkley got hurt in 2020. In 2018, Eli was quarterback. Eli Manning set him up for the best situation. Offensive line sucked in 2018. Facts. He led the league in yards from scrimmage. 2019, I know he got hurt a couple games. Saquon Barkley had 4 games that year. 4 games where he ran for 100 yards or more. 3 of them were started by Eli Manning. Eli Manning started 4 games that year. 3 of them were Eli Manning. Okay? So Eli knew how to set everything up. Daniel Jones hasn't shown the ability to do that. And pre-snap reads have a lot to do with succeeding in the NFL. And the fact that he can't do it, that worries me, because, again, that is not something you coach up. That's something a player has or he doesn't. Going into his 4th year, I don't think he has it. So I don't think it's just that the offense is bad, which, he's getting hit a lot, but I don't know if that's the whole reason he's getting hurt. Eli Manning didn't have a great offense around him either.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. With Daniel Jones, it's not like he's getting sacked in the pocket and then getting hurt. They're just running him too much, and that goes for everybody he's been coached under. I mean, outside of Pat Shurmur, who definitely had him rolling out, running those flood concepts pretty well. But in exchange for the turnovers that he had in his rookie season, I just don't think it's worth it. You got to stop running Daniel Jones, and this is the crazy part. Running is one of his skill sets, right? And when you remove that running from his game plan, he's below average.
Yes.
You got to put him in that category with, like, people below Andy Dalton and people like that if you remove the running away from him. So, I mean, I don't know. I do understand why a lot of Giants fans think you need to keep that kind of skill set as a part of his game plan. But, like, seeing a guy like that running RPO to me is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Kalen, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Sup, dog, and authentic, the GOAT. Get Shane or Poles. Well, they both had second interviews today, so I'm thinking I have a feeling it's going to be Shane and Dable. I have a feeling. I feel like it too. Fred Stanley, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Whatever you take quarterback, I want them to aim for upside. I'm not a fan of these low ceiling, high floor quarterbacks. Shoot for the sky and develop the guy. Well, I agree. I think Malik Willis is definitely a shoot for the sky type of guy. I think he has a higher ceiling than a Daniel Jones. But again, I didn't watch Liberty football. Like, I know more about Matt Corral and Sam Howell and Kenny Pickett because how often did I watch Liberty?
Right.
I didn't watch one Liberty game. I started watching the Liberty, like his plays on YouTube, because I'm like, there obviously was a lot of talk about Malik Willis, and I don't know much about him, so I just wanted to watch him play. And yeah, but again, the one thing that I see about Malik Willis is right now, and again, this maybe he also has a tendency to stare down receivers. That is a no-no in the NFL. You can't do that. You have got to go through progressions. You got to be able to look off the safety. You got to be able to look these guys off, because if you're just staring, safety's jumping the route and picking it off, or a linebacker's jumping the route and picking it off. You can't stare them down. That's one thing that I noticed about Malik Willis, especially in that game against Ole Miss. He had a tendency to just look and throw, where I feel like you got to look some guys off now and again. And again, he's young, so maybe he can get out of that. But again, I don't know. I just, to me, he's got the best skill set of the quarterbacks coming out of the draft. I think he's got the best arm. I'm not a big Kenny Pickett fan. I don't want any more ACC quarterbacks. I mean, we just got an ACC quarterback, and we had one in 95 and 94 and Dave Brown. Can we stay away from the ACC? Please.
I definitely feel you on that. And you never know, like you talked about with the speed of the college game, the transition going into the NFL. It looks good when you're at Liberty, right? And you're playing against low-level competition for sure, but you never know how that's going to translate to the NFL. And, I mean, the one thing that kind of reassures me a little bit about Malik Willis is the arm talent, which it reminds me of Josh Allen. People were like, accuracy is definitely an issue with Josh Allen, but we know he's got one of the biggest arms as far as quarterbacks that were in that combine. And, he started off slow, too. We can't forget Allen comes into the league. I want to say it was a 52% completion percentage.
Bad.
He was bad. And I think he was under 3,000 yards. Then it jumped up to like 58. And then you bring in a guy like Stephon Diggs, and you're seeing a real quarterback, enter his third year. And it really just was a perfect pairing. And you see Josh Allen jump up 10% completion percentage, over 4,000 yards. The dude's just completely balling out. And now it just makes him look that much better. But I feel like we saw it with our eyes first. It passed the eye test, even though in games in the NFL as a rookie, it looked a little bit sketchy. With Daniel Jones now, we can't keep treating him like a rookie quarterback where we're like, oh, we kind of need to see more. I mean, we've seen a lot of games. We've seen a lot of games from Daniel Jones.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. There is one thing I'll say about Malik Willis, that the way he throws in the run, the ability to throw on the run with, a strong arm, the hip torque, reminds me a little bit of Kyler Murray. And I love Kyler Murray.
Ooh, yeah.
Little bit.
I feel you on that.
That particular skill, being able to roll out to his right, torque the hip, and throw the ball 50, 60 yards down the field with accuracy.
Yeah. That's
Kyler Murray-esque. The rest of the game I don't know about, but that particular skill is very intriguing. And again, one thing that Malik Willis can bring is extending plays. Yeah. That's what mobile quarterbacks can do. Daniel Jones can run. Daniel Jones isn't a mobile quarterback. Mobile quarterbacks extend plays, which can get you penalties on the field, or it can lead to big plays. Because how long can a cornerback or a safety cover a wide receiver before they're open? He's an exciting player. And again, I particularly don't want him in the top 10, but I'm not going to sit here and throw my book across the room or whatever the hell I threw when we drafted Daniel Jones. I'm not going to lose my mind.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of the throw that Josh Allen made in his playoff game against the Patriots here just this past weekend, where he just scrambled and he rolled out all the way to the sideline, waited until the last minute, and then he hit Dawson Knox in the back of the end zone on a pass that people were probably like he's trying to throw it away. Now, that also reminds me of some throws from Daniel Jones, one of them being the Dallas Cowboys game, 2 Cowboys games ago, where he's rolling to his left, waiting. He tries to throw it out the back of the end zone, and the guy makes a diving interception. Yep. These are just those little things that make a really great quarterback and a very average quarterback. Joe Burrow on the controversial play where the referees blew the whistle this past weekend. Yep. He's rolling out to his right, extending that play until the absolute last minute. 1 foot in bounds, the other foot hovering out of bounds. Throws a dart, you get a touchdown right there. So I'm looking for a quarterback that can extend plays myself.
Justin Herbert's another one. Justin Herbert's another guy that can just roll the ball out and then just gun the thing. Yeah,
there's throw against us before halftime. My God.
Yeah, there's definitely some guys with some talent, for sure. Big Kane, thank you, brother. Would you give the Texans our fourth round quarterback Jones and our first round next year? I would do that in a heartbeat for Deshaun Watson. Our fifth overall, fourth round pick Jones and first. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. As long as all of his legal troubles are cleared up. Yes. I'm not going to do that, taking a chance that he might not play. But I definitely would. I definitely would do that for Deshaun Watson. I freaking love Deshaun Watson. The guy's the man. Jeremiah, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. He says, 2 dome streamers, fly eagles into the side of the building. You'll never get me to read those 3 words. Ever. John Letourneau tries it all the time. Never read that. Rehire a gentleman. You can hire him.
He was on my stream saying that same thing.
You can hire him. I was saying this. Well, Authentic, I was saying this to Jeremiah last night. And to a couple of people I work with today. Sunday was the best Sunday Giants fans had all year. The best Sunday we had all year. It was Dallas and Philadelphia get eliminated.
It's definitely been rough for us, man. It's been a rough year. This was the roughest year I can remember, man. Like, I've been watching ball like for a long time, since probably 1989, 1990, I've been watching Giants football. 2017 was a super low for me, man. Like, all those injuries and whatnot. I'll never forget that Week 5 game or whatnot, and you know, seeing Odell Beckham get hurt, along with Dwayne Harris got hurt in that game. Brandon Marshall gets hurt in that game. Shepard got hurt in that game. But this low that I saw this season, when we got down to that back half or the last quarter of the season, I mean, it's pathetic. It's almost like you could take a college team, put them out there, and they're going to put up a better fight than the New York Giants been putting up lately.
Yeah, it seemed like it. I was like, this team would struggle to score against Georgia. It was embarrassing. It really was embarrassing how bad they were.
And the QB sneaks are like the cherry on top of embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe that I was watching that. I'm like, what are you doing? You know what's funny? Earlier in the game, we had the ball like, the 45 or the 42. We had 4th and inches, and they run an end around the freaking Bachman,
Alex Bachman.
They're running an end around Alex Bachman. That's where you run the quarterback sneak, Joe.
Right.
4th and inches, not 3rd down and 9. What is he doing?
Yeah.
You know, damn clown show.
It was wild, man. It was wild this year.
Nick, thank you, brother. Really appreciate it. He says, as Authentic said in his song, "See You Win." I just want to see you win, Daniel Jones.
I like that. I appreciate that, man.
My favorite Authentic saying is facts over feelings.
Yeah, I saw you drop that on one of your
That
streams,
is my favorite. Give you credit. If I take somebody's comment, I give them credit. I'm not like the media that's just going to come out and start saying clown show after I said.
You were the first one.
I knew we all know. Someone said you didn't invent clown show. I'm like, no, I didn't invent the term, but I started using it for the Giants at the beginning of December, and then it took off. And when Joe Judge said it, I started laughing.
That's crazy. Like, it through the 6 degrees of separation, it actually got to Joe Judge.
There was people in the thing who were like, as soon as I heard that, I thought of you.
That's real.
It's crazy. Jova, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Due to our cap situation, we may not be able to afford both the 5 and 7 picks. We may need to trade one of the picks. No, we'll be okay, because I bet they're going to either restructure contracts. They're probably going to cut Blake Martinez. That's going to save $9 million. They're probably going to cut Bradbury. Remember, we brought in Martinez and Bradbury. They came in on 3-year deals that were front-loaded contracts, so they could dump them without big-time cap hits. You're going to lose Evan Ingram. They're going to cut Riley Dixon. That's going to save $3.25 million, who was terrible this year. They will find a way to get 5 and 7. They will find the way, and that's what the new regime is supposed to do. They're going to they're in a bad spot, but they'll figure out a way to sign those guys.
Yeah, that's true.
They will. Irish Rover, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, my man. He says, what a great week. Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge, gone. The Eagles and Cowboys are done. We brought in injury-prone players and called them tools for DJ. I call them expensive, broken tools with no warranty. O-line first. Great content, guys. Thank you, Irish Rover.
A lot of facts in that super chat.
We did have a lot of freaking injuries.
Yeah, we did.
And we're getting rated by Rocha right now. Rocha, what's going on, buddy? I may have missed this because I'm way behind in the chat. So if I missed the Rocha raid, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm way behind because I'm looking at StreamYard. I'm not looking at the YouTube chat. My man Rocha is the Lakers version of me. He does all the Warriors version of me. He does all the Warriors games. Big shout out to Rocha Entertainment, my man. Thank you for the raid. And if I missed it, I'm sorry because, like I said, I'm way behind in this chat over here. Blake, thank you, brother. Gun to your head, who do you hire for GM? I don't need to pick. I mean, I think Shane is the guy, but Shane or Poles are the guys that I want. I think the Giants are going to go with either one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing. It's like, for me at least, with GMs, there's not really tape on the GM. It's
right.
Like it's really hard to see who are the real top candidates. You can look at a team's record, and for me, I got to go with Dable as well because I mean, the Buffalo Bills have just been super impressive this year. I mean, you look at that last game, 7 touchdowns, like 7 straight drives of 7 touchdowns, no punt, no field goal, no turnovers. Like, that's never been done in NFL history. And I know they got a guy at the quarterback position that's a stud. But, yeah, that says a lot about your organization, from top down.
Yes, indeed. Abe, by the way, we got 513 in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so, hit the like button. That helps out the stream. More importantly, if you haven't done so, and like I said, I'm sure my mods have been dropping the link to Authentic's channel, Authentic in a Beard. Have a great channel over there. They do a Sunday parlay show before the game. Authentic does the giant overreaction on Mondays after the games. I don't really know what you guys have planned in the offseason. But the link to his description the link to his channel is in the description below. It's the first thing there. So click on it, subscribe them. You'll not be disappointed. Trust me, I don't bring on just anybody on the channel. A lot of respect for this guy right there. They do a great job over there.
Thank you.
Right there. Got a lot of respect for this guy right here because I checked the tape. I got a lot of respect for this guy right there. This guy right there.
Yeah, the tape don't lie, man. The tape don't lie. I promise you. Y'all subscribe to the channel. If you're not feeling the vibes after the first week, you could do deuces, no problem, man. I won't even be that upset. But I promise you, have a good time over at my channel, man. We
free.
Like to call everybody fam over there.
You got nothing to lose.
Yep.
Subscribe. You won't be disappointed. Abe, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Whoever we get for GM better be soon because time's running out to get a coach unless he has this guy. Well, like I said, Brian Daboll could definitely come here with Joe Shane, which is what I really think the Giants are going to do. He says, I'd give up both firsts this year for Watson. We got capped to trade back into the first if we really like somebody. I wouldn't have a problem with it.
That's a good point.
I would not have a problem with that. If we could get Watson, he's clear of all charges. I love Deshaun Watson. Loved him at Clemson. I wanted him to draft. I wanted him to draft Watson over Mahomes, to be honest with you. Well, not wrong with Mahomes. And I saw Mahomes and Baker Mayfield have a great duel in a 66-59 Oklahoma win over Texas Tech. And Mahomes had over 800 total yards by himself in that game between passing and running. And Baker threw like 6 touchdowns. It was insane. It's on YouTube. If you ever want to watch a really good game, 2016 Texas Tech, Oklahoma. It was like a basketball game. Fred Stanley, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. What are your thoughts on DJ's neck? I heard he won't be cleared for contact till late August. Boomer on WFAN says he thinks it's bone damage.
Yeah, I saw Boomer talking about that.
And that's another reason that they might consider a quarterback.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, I think, if you can draft a guy and just, be developing him, especially with a new head coach and a new GM, you bring in that quarterback early so he starts learning the regiment early,
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't want to throw him into the fight. We kind of did that with Daniel Jones. Yeah. Although I was ready to see him. I was ready to see Daniel Jones.
I remember that, Baddog, and I was against it, man. I wanted to see Eli finish out that season. It was money not well spent, too. I think Eli was making like $20 million that year in 2019, and they only 2 games went by where Eli wasn't playing that bad either. And they ended up benching him going into, I think that was week 3. I thought it was a little bit unfortunate for both of them, for Eli Manning's statistics to finish out his career and for Daniel Jones to kind of be thrown to the wolves. But the debut was so good against the Bucs, people kind of, just ignored everything else.
That was crazy. L.A. Lou, thanks so much. I appreciate it, my good man. He says, how are you, gents? Good to see you, Authentic. Besides drafting 2 linemen, bringing a solid veteran I think he meant right tackle to go with Thomas, draft the guard in the center, let the rest battle for the last spot. A good line will make Jones and Barkley better. Definitely Barkley. I think, although Barkley's got it, it's up here with him, man. I swear to God, it's here with Barkley more than anything else. Yep. It's there. That some guys never recover from that ACL, and they just don't. And it's not because physically Barkley's not 100%. It's because mentally he's thinking about it. And therefore he's not going full speed. He's indecisive. Instead of just going, bang, I don't care like he did his rookie season. He doesn't hit the way he used to. You don't see that explosiveness. And I don't think it's because his ACL is still bad. I think it's because he's in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I tore my ACL once. And he's got to get over that. But yeah, an offensive line would certainly help him get over that if he's not thinking I'm going to get hit every time I get the ball in the backfield. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and the right offensive system and coordinator, I think, will benefit Barkley even more, too, because, I'm one that's been saying this since day one. I've said this like a billion times. Saquon Barkley needs to be used like Alvin Kamara. You have to pair him with a strong running back so you can switch tempo. It's all about balance here. Look at what the Dallas Cowboys have done with their running game, and when they've seen success, it's been with a thunder and lightning kind of a vibe, to shoot a pun towards the New York Giants for sure. So, I know people were saying, Adrian Peterson like recovery on the knee and all this stuff, but you got to think realistic here. People wanted Saquon Barkley to get 20 touches a game. To me, that's not the kind of running back he is, and you can ruin his career here. We've already ruined a good chunk of his career, kind of trying to treat him like Reggie Bush a little bit by trying to make him run between the tackles like a back. Like, when I see Cam Akers come back off the Achilles yesterday or 2 days, that was yesterday, and I see the way he's running, I mean, you look, prayers out to Budda Baker. I said this on my podcast earlier, but the way he lowered his shoulder and ran over Budda Baker, Cam Akers is not even known as a power running back, but he can do things like that. I think with Saquon Barkley, you kind of got to do the same thing. They paired Cam Akers in the playoffs here with Sony Michel. It's the perfect pairing to me. You got to get one of those backs that you can just continuously hammer to set up those other big plays. Learn how to use Saquon Barkley in the screen game and off zone running schemes rather than trying to have him run between the 1 and the 2 hole. It's just not a good plan for Saquon Barkley. And for me, I'm just a fan, and I just watch football, but I look at Saquon Barkley's skill set, and to me, he screams he's a hybrid running back. There's not many successful hybrid running backs getting 20 carries a game, running up the gut, actually getting potential yardage like that. Even with CMC, he's been dealing with injuries. The kid Swift in Detroit kind of reminds me of that. You look at Denver, who had a great running combo this year as well with Gordon and Williams in the backfield. It's all about setting teams off balance, man, and making those linebackers think. And with Saquon Barkley, I think if you do get that offensive line, that does help, because now Saquon Barkley can be thinking about the second-level moves he's going to make rather than thinking about the kind of jukes he's going to make in the backfield to try to even get to the second level.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if you think about it, his rookie season, he caught 92 passes. So they did use him in the screen game, and a good offensive line, which is why I'm so high on Tyler Linderbaum. You watch Tyler Linderbaum get to the second level, it's like nobody you've ever seen. The Giants have such a piss-poor offensive line. They have no movement and no athleticism, so the screens are blown up because those guys can't get out and pull, and they can't get to the second level. And these plays are blown up in the backfield. So, and it didn't help that our offense was so one-dimensional. We never even tried to go down the field, so they just crowded the line of scrimmage, and they knew we were going lateral or inside 10 yards every time. But I feel like if we got some linemen that could actually get out there and give him some lead blocks and get him some holes, then when he gets to the second level, then maybe you do see that explosiveness again, because again, then he's just thinking about, I got to get to the end zone, and not thinking, God, I'm going to get hit when I get the ball. So it'll be interesting. Again, I feel the Giants have got to address the offensive line a lot in this draft. If it's not with the first 2 picks, if they wanted to take a quarterback, and they need to take an offensive line with that other pick, and they probably need to take an offensive line with that early second round pick. They really, even if they go quarterback, they still have got to help that new quarterback for the future by getting him some offensive line help. That's what they gotta do.
Yeah. And you don't want to make that mistake that Dave Gettleman made, waiting too late to draft for a position that has a need. He did that with the linebacker position. I think that was in either 2019 or 2020 draft, where we reached on some linebackers in the 4th round, the 7th round, brought in some guys, and none of them panned out. So for me, make sure you get one of these linemen for sure with that first pick for sure.
Agreed. Lorenzo, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Malik Willis equals Jalen Hurts. I hope not. I wouldn't want.
That's a bad comparison. That's a bad comparison.
I was going to say, I would not want to be taking a Jalen Hurts with the 7th overall pick. I think Malik Willis is a higher upside. Listen, I know that people think I hate on Jalen Hurts because he's an Eagle. But I hate the fact that he is an Eagle, because I like Jalen Hurts a lot. I liked him in Oklahoma. I liked him in Alabama. He's a good kid. He's got the it factor. He is the guy that can get out of the pocket. He is the guy that can use his legs. That is a scrambler. That is a mobile quarterback.
Facts.
He can't throw. He can't throw. He couldn't throw at Bama. He can't throw it. He couldn't throw at OU. He has no touch in that deep pass. None. He's way overshooting or way undershooting. It's not even close. Those throws he made to some wide open receivers at Tampa, he missed them by a mile. It's just not his thing. He's got bad mechanics down the field. He's had it his entire college career. That's not going to develop. You can win games at Jalen Hurts. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But if they want to win a Super Bowl, they're going to have to get a guy that can pass better. Because I said this on our, with Chris the other night or last week. The Eagles, if they're in a dogfight and they're close, they got a good chance to win because Hurts is dangerous in a close game because they can run the ball, they can do a lot of things. But if they get down, he's not bringing you back. He's not bringing you back with his arm alone. You take the Eagles' running game away, he's going to struggle. When the Eagles won 7 out of their last 9 games, Jalen Hurts didn't put up good statistics at all. They were very average, pedestrian. He had a terrible game against the Giants. He's just not that guy. He's never been that guy. It's not because I'm hating on him or I don't like him, but this is what I saw in college, which is why I said the guy's a 3rd or 4th round pick to me, and he'd be a nice backup, and he's a nice gadget quarterback, but I don't think he's a starter in the NFL. And there's a lot of Eagle fans that go, the Eagle fans are just like, we are authentic. They're exactly. They're very reactionary. The guy does well. He's the best. He does the bad. He's terrible.
We need a quarterback.
That's true. Yeah, true. That's true.
I like Jalen Hurts. I think that I agree with everything that you said there, except one thing probably where you said he won't be able to develop the passing stuff later in his career. And I think Josh Allen is a good comparison for this. They're very different style quarterbacks, but Josh Allen, they thought, the accuracy was going to be an issue throughout his whole career, and he found a way to correct that in his 3rd season. I think dealing with a rookie head coach over there with Nick Sirianni, there's been plenty of blunders this season where you can see Sirianni doesn't know what he's doing. The Giants' first game being one of the main matchups where he comes out in the first quarter and is just completely trying to throw the ball with Jalen Hurts the whole game. You're like, this is the #1 rushing attack in the NFL.
And they ran for 100 yards in the 3rd quarter against us when they started running the ball.
Right, and then you could see it as a Giants fan. You're like, whoa, I don't want them to get a ball to Jalen Hurts because he's going to run and probably get first downs. Now, I will say this about Jalen Hurts, too. You got to play to his strengths, and it's puzzling to me that with a running quarterback like that, it's very clear that his skill set is with his legs and not his arm at this moment in time in his career. Well, when they throw the ball, why are they throwing the ball so far down the field?
Yeah, I don't understand.
They don't have wide receivers galore over there to be doing those kind of things. The over-under that we looked at on my show on Thursday for Devonta Smith was 53 yards. He barely got over it with 60 yards on 4 receptions, right? They don't have the kind of wide receiver room to be throwing the ball down the field the way that they want to. I know they got some burners out there with Jalen Reagor. He has troubles catching the ball.
Jalen Reagor was terrible at TCU, too. He was not a good pick for them at all.
Terrible pick. Definitely missed on that one. Yes. I like Jalen Hurts, though, as a 2nd-round quarterback. You're saving a lot of money, and I think he's a good transition until you find out who the guy might be or until he might be able to mature and be able to throw the ball down the field. I do think he gets a little bit too much flack. This Philadelphia Eagles team, when I looked at the roster in the offseason, I didn't see them winning more than 5 or 6 games.
I didn't either.
And he's came out and shown you that he's brought back guys like Jordan Howard, who we know was pretty much washed as a running back. He got Jordan Howard paid. When you got a guy who can run the RPO, that slick and that smooth with Jalen Hurts, it makes the running game work even better. But at the same time, when a guy can't throw the ball, just like you said, when you get down behind a score, 2 scores, he turns into Jameis Winston. He's the kind of guy that when he's down, he's going to make even bigger mistakes in the game. So, I think Jalen Hurts, 20 games into his career, the verdict is not out for me yet. I want to see what he can do in year 2, year 3. I like that the Philadelphia Eagles had the guts to move on from Carson Wentz and give the keys to him, for a year at least here, maybe 2 years. And I see people saying, after the loss to the Bucs, that the Eagles need to go out there and draft a quarterback. I disagree with that right now. They're in a similar position as the New York Giants, but their quarterback position is a little bit more secure, if you ask me.
Yeah, there's definitely some good points there, without a doubt. And the ability for Hurts to come in and make the playoffs, for them to get rid of Wentz, get rid of all the cap, and they had 3 first-round draft, or get a couple of they get their own draft pick, and then they got 2 other first-round draft picks. They definitely switched everything over in 1 year. And when you can get a 2nd-round quarterback that can be an effective starter to the point that he can win games, it certainly helps. Now, is he a franchise quarterback going forward? I guess only time.
Not at this point, now.
Avery, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. DJ should be our quarterback. He almost broke the rookie touchdown record. If we reach for another quarterback, we will be in the same predicament and favorite head coach candidates. I brought this stat up before, Avery, and I don't know exactly how it finished out. Daniel Jones in 3 games in 2019, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions against the Jets, against the Lions, and against Washington. 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. Mm-hmm. The other 9 games that he played, or the other 8 games that he played, 11 touchdowns, 12 picks. You take and again, I know you can't do it, but you take those 3 games away. But listen, just put it this way. The last 2 seasons, Daniel Jones had 21 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. 3 games as opposed to however many other 34, whatever other games he played.
Yeah.
That's the aberration. That's not the norm. Daniel Jones had 19 turnovers or whatever it was. He almost led the league in turnovers as well.
Fumbles and
19
11,
fumbles. I think he might have had 24
lost.
turnovers. Okay, 11 lost. So he turned them over 23 times in 12 games. So, yeah, he threw a lot of touchdowns. He also gave the ball back a lot. Again, I have no problem with Daniel Jones being here if they fix the offensive line and they see what he is in year 4 and they go quarterback. He's not going to be – they're not picking up a 50-year option. I'm not giving that guy $21 million, not just because he hasn't shown that he should deserve the money on the field. He can't stay on the field. He has never got through a whole season without being hurt. I can't give a quarterback $21 million. He can't prove that he can play every game, no matter how good he is. That's difficult to do. So I'm not going to say that Daniel Jones should be the quarterback past 2022. If he's here in 2022, I'm not going to throw a fit. Whatever they do with the quarterback situation in 2022 is not going to bother me as long as they address that offensive line. That's really what I want them to do.
That's a good point you brought up about them 3 games. I mean, it reminds me of Leonard Williams a little bit. He's got that 11-sack season with the New York Giants when we traded for him, right? Outside of that, he's been below average or average at best. You can't take an outlier kind of a year and use that as the example of what that player actually is. And I think that goes for the touchdowns for Daniel Jones and the fumbles, right? Because he did clean up the fumbles. But at the same time, imagine if Tiki Barber cleaned up his fumbling problem, but he lost some of his agility while he was cutting. A lot of people like to say that Daniel Jones has progressed in year 2 and year 3. But for me, I actually think with the coaching staff led by Jason Garrett trying to correct his turnover problems, he's actually regressed as a quarterback. He's lost some of that moxie, and he's lost some of that just go out there and get it done.
No confidence.
Yeah, no confidence.
As far as head coaching candidates go, again, I think it depends on the GM. I don't really know. Harbaugh's the only guy I can think of off the top of my head. I don't care who the GM is. I would take Jim Harbaugh. He's not going to be our coach. So I think, like I said, whoever our head coach is, I think the GM has to say, I want to work with this guy. And to me, I think it's going to be Shane and Daboll, but we'll wait and see. But I don't really have a favorite head coaching candidate. I think that whoever the GM is going to bring in one of his guys from the organization that he comes from.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like Harbaugh. I think that would be amazing with any GM. I'm a little worried about Flores just because going back-to-back Patriots coaches, the coaching tree's been kind of iffy, and Flores being the only one who's seen a little bit of success. But you look at his first year in Miami, it wasn't great. I think it was 5 wins, and you got that outlier kind of year again where they won 10. I think they got 10 wins in 2020, I believe, and then you kind of get set back in 2021 when they, they became the first team to do this, but they lost 7 in a row, then they won 7 in a row. But to me, that's nothing to hang your hat on.
No, definitely not. Nandan, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Y'all mentioned Burrow. My Bengals are in the division round. I'm happy for the Bengals.
Salute.
I'm happy for the Bengals.
I love that they did it without building the trenches, too, to just show people that, you can build teams differently. I know that's traditionally the way you start from the trenches, but even look at the Chargers as well. They had the weapons on the outside with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. You go out there and you draft one left tackle to completely change the whole direction of your offensive line. They've got 5 new starters over there with the Chargers, and they've managed to put up some great numbers on offense, even when their offensive line was ranked 30th, I believe, in Herbert's rookie year. They were still the 9th-ranked offense in the NFL. So I'm telling you, man, if you get that right guy quarterback, and I'm not sitting here saying I'm 100% sold on Malik Willis, but if you can get that right quarterback, there's nothing that helps out an offensive line more than a decisive quarterback. It's why Tom Brady is the least sacked quarterback in the NFL every year. I mean, he is the reason. It's not that his offensive lines have been amazing throughout his whole career.
And it's not that he's mobile.
It's definitely not that he's mobile.
Sure. So, yeah, it's a great point. The quarterback with a quick release can make his offensive line look better. The quarterback will also has to help out his offensive line with quick, decisive throws. You can't sit back there and be indecisive and let the pass rush get to you as well. But, I mean, let's face it. Burrow and Herbert were elite coming out of college.
Yeah.
Malik Willis is not. There is no elite guy coming out of this college class. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah, Burrow was definitely that guy coming out. And I don't think it's a reason to neglect offensive line. Yeah. Obviously not. But, you can build teams in a different way, for sure.
I agree. Johnny, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. He says, Stella, Baddog and Authentic. Just want to let you know, Hurts, Wentz, Dak, Mayfield, Jackson either really stink or overrated or benefits from trash time. Well, Hurts's numbers came in trash time.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson is just, I don't know what Lamar Jackson is. Dak Prescott benefits from a ton of weapons. He would not be a good quarterback with the Giants. I don't know what the hell happened. Carson Wentz hasn't been the same since he tore his knee up. Hasn't been the same guy. He's another guy can't stay healthy. So and Mayfield's been a disappointment. I thought Mayfield would be, I didn't think he'd be like elite, but I thought he'd be top 10. I thought he'd be 9, 10, 11, but he's not. He is an average quarterback, and that I thought Baker would be better. I was totally missed on Baker Mayfield. For sure.
I thought Baker Mayfield was going to be better too. I wouldn't put Lamar Jackson in that bubble of players, though, not one bit. You can't forget that when people were saying that Lamar Jackson couldn't throw the ball after his first year starting, he came back and led the NFL in passing touchdowns with 36. So I wouldn't put him in that category. The only difference with him this year, he was a front runner MVP candidate early on in this year, and then he ends up getting hurt, and then that completely just derailed his season. But I take Lamar Jackson up out of that. He's a unicorn at the quarterback position. Hurts. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Dak Prescott does benefit from the weapons for sure, but I do see Dak Prescott make some fantastic throws. I mean, how many times you seen the over-shoulder fade route go to Amari Cooper perfect right on the button? I mean, we saw one on Sunday even. I think Dak Prescott is a little bit above maybe a few of those other guys. Baker Mayfield probably falling in that average category.
So one thing I'll say, and I forgot who I was talking about this, and they made a good point. Guys like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson need bigger receivers.
Yep.
You can't go out and give him Hollywood Brown. And Devontae Smith is obviously he can be explosive receiver, but he's not a big guy. They need to get Jalen Hurts a 6'5" receiver. Fact. They need to get Lamar Jackson a 6'5" receiver. Those type of guys that aren't the most accurate quarterbacks need bigger receivers for bigger targets. Just bigger catch radiuses. Again, I don't think Devontae Smith may be great. I don't know if that was the correct pick for the Eagles. He wouldn't have been the correct. Devontae Smith wouldn't have been the correct pick for us either. That would not have mattered. That would not have mattered. I don't know why some Giants fans got so irate when they took Devontae Smith. I didn't really care.
Going into that draft, I did want Devonta Smith. His year has been a little bit lackluster, but I think he's kind of suffering from a little bit of what Terry McLaurin has been suffering with Washington. You know, you got a quarterback that really can't get you the ball. Yeah. If you listen to what Troy Aikman was saying during the broadcast.
Yeah, he was like, throw it to Smith. He said it the whole time.
Yeah, he's like, it's one-on-one. We would eat that matchup up, if that was me and Michael Irvin.
They were playing off of him. That's what he said. He goes, if I saw a guy playing 9 yards off of him, I'd be throwing it over there every time.
All day. And, Hurts is just not the kind of quarterback yet that can just drop back, hit that pivot foot, and let it go and rely on timing. He's the kind of quarterback that kind of needs to see it in front of him first.
Yeah, I think Devontae Smith will be very good. But I was not I was not upset that we didn't get him. It did not bother me. I felt like we ended up with a receiver, but I didn't feel like we needed one in this draft, especially since we paid $72 million for Golladay.
Right.
Keith, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Blessings to you, gentlemen. What do you all think about trying to bring perhaps Pep Hamilton, given his QB resume, Luck, Herbert, Mills?
I love Pep Hamilton. My cousin actually played ball for Pep at Howard when he came out of high school here in that was out of Maryland, and then he ended up going to Howard to play for Pep. And then I got to see Pep in the XFL as well as the head coach of the Washington team here. I think Pep Hamilton, he definitely deserves a spot in the NFL. As far as me for the New York Giants, I'm a little bit weary about it because he'd be a new face that you would see calling plays out here. And I'm a little bit, as a Giants fan, I just want like a bit of reputation and a bit of proof, like that real proof.
We need that. We need that track record at this point because we try to think outside the box with Judge and it did not work. So
right.
That would be a risky move. Just because I don't know anything about Pep Hamilton if I'm being honest, but if he's inexperienced, again, I think the Giants need to bring in some NFL experience at this point.
Facts.
Stephen Lilly, thank you, brother. If we draft Willis, it's the same old mistakes. O-line first. Listen, like I said, you're not getting an argument out of me. I think the offensive line needs to be fixed. But if they want to go Malik Willis, again, I'm not gonna agree with it, but I'm not gonna throw shit around my downstairs area here and scream and yell. But if they take Malik Willis, they better take an offensive lineman with that other pick.
I mean, two things can be true here. Obviously, you can take the offensive lineman first at 5, and if you reach and go Malik Willis at 7, you could also do that. It's not going to be the same old, and let me tell you why. When have you ever seen a mobile quarterback in the New York Giants uniform?
Never.
Like literally never. And that's what excites me
I
more
guess
about
Fran
Malik Willis.
Tarkenton, but Fran was before my time.
Way before my time. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 1983. You know what I'm saying? So that was definitely before my time. But I would love that. That kind of makes the Malik Willis intrigue more for me, you know, because I'm like, what would a running quarterback look like with a guy like Saquon Barkley in the backfield if utilized properly? You know, they've been trying to use Saquon Barkley in a very traditional, old school fashion where it's like, we know he's a new school playmaker. This guy could be one of the biggest playmakers in the NFL when healthy. I like the potential of bringing in a quarterback who is the exact same kind of thing. You know, you look at Kyler Murray with the Cardinals and what that does for players like Chase Edmonds and Connor coming from Pittsburgh. I never knew Connor was going to be that kind of explosive kind of player that was going to be near the top of the league as far as total touchdowns. I never thought that, you know, and seeing him with Kyler Murray, it makes it work even better. And then you get some deadly weapons at the wide receiver position. I like it. So two things can be true. You could go offensive line first and you could get Malik Willis. And as people have been saying in the chat, and I said up here once, you could take some draft stock and trade back into the first round to go get Malik Willis. Or who knows, maybe Malik Willis drops to the second round, possibly like a guy like Lamar Jackson, you know, or late in the first, and you could trade up and do that too. There's not just one way to do this. There's a lot of different ways that you could end up with a quarterback and a couple of pieces to rebuild your offensive line and possibly some edge rushers out there. Yep. We got 10 picks here.
Yep, great point. We do have a lot of draft capital, so draft night's going to be, it's always interesting. And I'll say this, and we've probably been saying this for the last 5 years, maybe. I don't think it's been the last 5 years, but I'm going to say this now. This is the most important draft the Giants have had in years. Facts. New regime, worst team in football over the last 5 years, 2 top 10 picks, 5 picks in the top 77, I believe. We need to nail this draft. If we're going to turn this thing around, we have got to start right here. We can't have one of these we missed on 5 and 7, or we're getting set back again. Cannot have. This is extremely important, what we do this year. Brickmaker West Blick. Thank you for the super chat. Right there. Appreciate it. Last night, 5 of 14, 1 out of 4 from 3, 2 turnovers, 3 personal fouls. However, the dunk on Gobert sent me into the next stratosphere. You were there. You saw my reaction. I lost my shit when he did that. I lost my mind. I never saw that coming. He took off in that dotted line and just he slapped Gobert in the face with a man meat on that. And he got fouled on top of it. And he was so pumped up he got a technical foul. I said, I don't even care. That was one of the best dunks I've seen because Westbrook's like my height. And he goes over 7'2", Gobert. That was awesome.
He's definitely an athlete, man. Westbrook's definitely an athlete.
That was pretty awesome. But and he had a clutch layup at the end of the game when he shot the ball way too fast. Abe, thank you for the super chat. Says, I'd love to see Gallman come back to us. He'd be cheaper than Booker and most guys for that matter. Nice comment to Saquon Barkley, big fan of his running style. Me and my brother-in-law were talking about this yesterday, Abe. We love Wayne Gallman. I liked Wayne Gallman coming out of Clemson. He's also a guy that can do a lot of things. He can catch a pass. He can block. He's not explosive. He's not going to take the ball 90 yards. He's not that guy. What I notice about Wayne Gallman, and I'm not saying he is this guy, but the way he finished his runs reminded me a lot of Ahmad Bradshaw. Ahmad Bradshaw always over the shoulder, always got an extra yard, extra half a yard, extra 2 yards. Always finished the run. Gallman was that guy. Yep. Just 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards. It's not sexy, but it wears down the defense. And he always got extra yards after contact. That's big in the NFL to me. I would love Gallman back here.
Yeah, I would totally love Gallman back on this team. And, you know, a lot of people used to clown this take, I used to say, right? But I said the backup running back position in New York is super important. If you look at teams that are successful running the ball, I could use the Philadelphia Eagles as an example real quick, the #1 rushing team in the NFL, right? Yeah, they got Miles Sanders, right? But they got backup and insurance for Miles Sanders. They got Jordan Howard out there, and they also got the bowling ball, Boston Scott out there as well. And don't forget, you still got the young kid, Kenneth Gainwell, out there. So you're talking 4 running backs. Yep. The Giants this year tried to get it done with 2 running backs and a fullback. That's just not going to cut it in this day and age in the NFL. And I think with the extension now of the season, 17 games, the backup quarterback position now is extremely important. And the backup running backs are extremely important because if a guy goes down, let's say Saquon Barkley's your lead running back and he gets hurt, now you're relying on Booker and Penny to be your 2 full-time running backs, that's not a good game plan. I don't care what kind of football we're playing. So I would totally love to bring Gallman back and even keep Booker, unless you can upgrade the position a little bit more, maybe bring in a better tier 2 running back to be behind Saquon Barkley. I think that'd be important too. But like you said, man, I've loved Wayne Gallman's running style, lean forward. It's always about positive yards. And what if the Giants have had problems with all this year is second down, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13, 2nd and 15. You get to 2nd and 12, then you get a penalty on like Nate Solder or something. You're looking at 2nd and 17. So I think that backup running back position, and not only the backup, but just the depth in general, is super important. And I would welcome Wayne Gallman back with open arms for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other thing you mentioned, and we definitely have to do this, is upgrade to backup quarterback. You have to get a quarterback that can play in the NFL. Mike Glennon can't play in the NFL. Jake Fromm don't belong in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true. Jake Fromm looked crazy out there.
He was not good at Georgia. People, I always love when people bring up college statistics. I don't know why people bring up statistics in college. It does not translate to the NFL, because if you're on a really good team, your opposition is so much less than you're going to look better. Not to mention the best teams you're playing against college may have 3 or 4 NFL players on defense. An NFL team has 11 players on defense, 11 NFL players on defense. And I always bring this guy up. Always. When someone wants to talk about statistics, I don't bring up Tebow. I don't bring up Johnny Manziel. How successful were they in the NFL?
Yeah.
There was a guy at Texas Tech, his last 2 seasons, threw for 96 touchdowns and like 20 interceptions and threw for almost 10,000 yards. Graham Harrell, look up his numbers. His junior and senior season at Texas Tech were stupid as far as the stats goes. He threw 4 passes in the NFL. There's a reason. And look at Colt Brennan's statistics at Hawaii.
Rest in peace to him too.
Yeah.
He did have some major numbers at Hawaii.
There is, you can't look at statistics. Look at Dwayne Haskins.
Colt kind of translated. I remember he was here with Washington as a third stringer for a while, and he lit the preseason up for a couple years in a row. But he seemed like he had some off the field issues as well too. But Dwayne Haskins is another good example. You know what I've been thinking about lately with Dwayne Haskins is maybe they were right in that draft, and maybe Dwayne Haskins could be a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, you know what? He might get a chance in Pittsburgh. Ben's retiring.
Yeah, I don't think they got the guts to start him at quarterback though.
We'll see. Well, if you don't start, he can't be better than Daniel. I don't think. Right. I don't think he'll be better than Daniel Jones. I don't
think so either. But I wouldn't rule it out if he could get another chance. But between the ears, Haskins just has big issues.
Yeah. I mean, when he wasn't able to take the kneel down because he was taking a selfie after his first win, I think that speaks to
shout out Case Keenum, ready with that.
Yeah, there you go. Avery, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Says I take it back. Watched Willis film, trade back.
Right. I mean, his film is crazy, man. His film is really.
Listen, I've
this
said
one play where he like spins off of an edge rusher who got clean to him on the right side. He spins off, and I swear to God, he looks just like Mike Vick. No hesitation. He spins off it, rolls to his right, kind of like how Burrow did on Sunday, and just throws a dart down the field like 50 yards, air yards, man, for a touchdown. The kid can make some serious plays, but you got to take it with a grain of salt, obviously, with the competition he's playing against.
Yeah, no doubt. Dire Giants, man, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Well, there's a link to Authentic in a Beard. And in case you missed that, click on it. The link to their channel is right the first thing in the description. So make sure you guys sub up Authentic in a Beard. Like I said, you're not going to regret it, man. I don't get a chance to work with a lot of other content creators on here. And like I said, with the Lakers still take a lot of my time. There are definitely some nights that I need to have off because I do work a full-time job on top of this. And I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I have a 4-year-old, and I try to go to the gym so that I can stay in shape because I have a 4-year-old and I'm almost 46 years old. So some nights I'm just tired. But I definitely want to work with more Giants content creators in the off season. And like I said, I haven't worked with you, I don't think, since the roundtable last year.
Yeah, I think it was last year. Yep.
And like I said, I was thinking about it. I think either last night, like late last night, or I think it was late last night. Did I text you? Did I DM you late last night, or was that
late last night? Yep.
Okay, because I'm sitting there after the Laker game, and I'm like, I need to work with Authentic, man. I gotta do this because, like I said, you and I love the way I love a lot of your opinions, even though we don't always agree on things. But I think you have a very good football mind, and like I said off camera, we think a lot alike when it comes to life in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have the same outlook on stuff, and maybe that's because we're a couple. He's a lot younger than me, but because I'm old as shit.
I'm not a lot younger than you.
You're a lot younger than me. 7 years is a lot, man.
I'm getting ready to be 39 coming up here this year, man. But I definitely appreciate it, and like Baddog said, man, we do. I think where we see eye to eye is just about keeping it real, man. Like just like
yes,
you know, I've been having the saying this year. I've been like, let's not be optimistic. Let's not be pessimistic, but let's just be right in the middle. Let's just be authentic. Let's just keep it real as we possibly can. And I'm at liberty to change my opinion at any point I want to. I look around YouTube and I try to gather all the opinions from all the content creators and some of the national media to you know, influence my opinion and take facts, because I'm not the kind of person that just like dies on these opinions. Like I said at the beginning of the year, Daniel Jones was going to have 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and like 4,500 yards. Talk about being way off. And now I'm the guy who's known as like the Daniel Jones hater. But if you've been on YouTube long enough and seeing my stuff, I'm definitely not a Daniel Jones hater, but I just call it like I see it, man. It's been very average football throughout the year. But as far as our channel goes, man, like, yo, I promise you will not be let down if you go subscribe to our channel. It's high value, high content, high quality. I produce a lot of the beats that go onto this show. It's a different vibe than you see from most Giants content creators as well, because every day I got to go to battle with my brother, who I've known since like 1988. The Beard, I've known him forever. He's a Washington football team fan. So every show is pretty much a battle to represent each other's teams and whatnot. And it's just a great time on our channel, man. Like I said, there's no fans of our channel. Everybody who joins, if you subscribe and you've been rocking with us, you're fam. You're not a fan. You are a fam. I'm just a fan, just like you are of the team.
You see what he did there? Did anybody catch what he said? He's at liberty.
You like that?
Change his mind.
You like that?
Liberty. Malik Willis. He didn't do it in there. I'm not that dumb. People think I'm dumb. Yeah, and another thing that I like what you said. People say, I love when people do this to me. They go back to like when I said Joe Judge is the man. Or I did a video last year that said Joe Judge should have had some Coach of the Year consideration. Oh, this aged poorly. Oh, a lot changes in it. Look how fast things change. And I said, do you know what happened in a year's time? Do you know how much changes in a year? My kid couldn't use, I said this, my kid could not use the potty a year ago. Now not only does he use the potty, wipes himself, undresses himself, dresses himself, recognizes his own name, knows his alphabet, can count to 30, can write his own name. He couldn't do any of this. He couldn't use the potty last year. Look at all the stuff he can do. And he grew like a foot. And now he actually has quite the hell personality. And this kid's going to be a handful. I already know it. But
look at his father, man.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he's definitely me. That personality, that sarcasm, that smart assery, that is definitely me. But the pulse of sports changes from week to week. People want to rag it up. You know why people do this? Because they can't get to the media. Not social media. The guys, the analysts on ESPN and NFL Network and Michael Kay and all these guys, they do the same thing. They do the same thing we do. It's the pulse of sports. It changes from week to week. If the Giants come out and have a really good game, the New York Post in the back of it is going to say nice things. If they get embarrassed the very next week, they're going to kill them. It's because, again, as content creators, we just kind of give our opinion on what we see and what's going on in the now, not what's went on a year ago, because things change in a year.
Yeah, they're just predictions at the end of the day, man. And I mean, you know, no one's going to be right 100% of the time. If I was right 100% of the time, the Giants better be lining up to come hire me.
Damn right. And that's the other thing I say. I'm like, oh, yeah, I swear some people get off on, oh, you were wrong. Everybody's wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Right.
1,000 times. You mean wrong we're always wrong. And I'm married, so I'm used to it. I'm always
I feel you.
Fred, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. As I was out in the quarterback this year, I thought Judge was coming back. But if we got Brian Daboll, I trust his judgment. I do not trust Joe Judge. We don't have to worry about it.
I like that.
We don't have to worry about it. Listen, I'm going to trust whatever these guys do and hope it's right. I trusted Dave no. I trusted him with Barkley. I did not like that. You guys know. A lot of people are always like, hey, I remember your Daniel Jones video. I found you in the Daniel Jones video. Yeah, that was pretty. I was the thumbnail of sports of SI.com on that pick. So
That's what's up.
The neck, whatever I did there with
the neck veins was
the
popping.
neck veins. Tutto, grazie. He should be playing for the Giants. He says,
Love Tudo, man. That's my guy right there.
Yes, he's the man. He says, Salute, New York Giants Paisan. He dropped by your office to pay our proper respects and for all the Giants around the world to slam the birds to the ground.
Facts.
I say it all the time. Nobody hates. I thought I hated the Eagles till I met Tuto.
Yeah, Tudo hate. He literally every show comes by to just tell, like, yo, we're gonna slap the Eagles. Like every show.
He does. You know who doesn't like Daniel Jones? Jeffrey Abbey. He says, stop firing and blaming players in spite of number 8's quarterback play. Don't want to see or hear it next season. I mean, listen, Daniel Jones is definitely a part of the problem. But God almighty, you can't think that Daniel Jones was the reason Joe Judge got fired. Joe Judge, listen, not only were the Giants bad offensively, he was a special teams guy. Our special teams sucked.
Terrible.
The clock management was awful. The timeout management was awful. The inability to get in the plays. We got outscored 75-0 in the last 2 minutes of the half. We didn't score a single point in the last 2 minutes and a half. The Giants had no direction. I remember watching the Manicast for like pretty much, I don't know if it was the Manicast. There was one night where the announcers were like, what are they doing? They like run a screen pass on like first down, and then they run the ball like they're trying to run out the clock, and they get a first down or whatever, and then they I forgot exactly what it was. They run the ball like they're trying to run out the clock, and then they throw an incompletion and to punt the ball away, and they're like, what are they trying to do here?
Oh, I think I know what game you're talking about. You're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles game, the end of the first matchup where we had those 3 downs. They ran it twice, I believe, and then rolled out, and Daniel Jones ends up losing 8 yards to try to keep the clock running. We punt it, and the Eagles get the ball back at the 50 for their last drive. Jalen Reagor ends up dropping the game-winning touchdown on the goal line and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, it's been the coaching staff has been awful. The one out that I see for this is that if Daniel Jones could have stayed healthy, maybe Joe Judge doesn't get fired, and that's about it.
That's true. I mean, there's no doubt the offense would have been better with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. It could not have been worse. Couldn't have been worse if I was under center. I probably wouldn't have made it through a play. They would have hit me. They would have buried me where I fell. But I mean, I could have got negative 10 yards. I mean, I had more passing yards that game than the Giants did. So, let's see what we got here. James says DJ carried an offense that our $70 million wide receiver has 0 touchdowns.
Oh, and that's sarcasm right there from James. I know that.
Oh, sarcasm. I know. Yeah, I know James too. Yeah, he listen. Him and he's been on the same page with a lot of us Giants fans have been very critical of the team. Yep. And listen, Giants fans should be critical of the team. And that's one thing I always say too. I'm not trying to be on ESPN, man. I'm not trying to be an analyst. I'm not trying to break down film. I'm not trying to go through 8 GMs and tell you their strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
All I do is come on here as a fan and talk to other fans. It's just my opinion. If people are not going to agree with it, that's okay. Yeah. But I always know people insult you about having a different opinion. It's like, why are you insulting me, man? I just disagree with you. And again, I'm not trying to be a professional dude. I just like talking football as a fan. That's it.
People think if you're not talking like completely positive about a certain player, then that means you're ragging on him. At the end of the day, I think, with Daniel Jones, just think about his highlights throughout this season. What comes to mind? The catch? The OBJ catch? Like, that's not good for a quarterback.
Right. This is true. Joey says 2022 is a throwaway year, then draft the quarterback, then 2023. That's kind of been I'd say throwaway year. I like the term rebuild.
Yeah.
But I've said that. I have said throwaway year. What will
be your plans though, as far as once you draft a quarterback? Are you going to bring in a stopgap quarterback as well and pay him as well, or are you going to plan to start the rookie?
I guess it would depend on who the rookie was.
Yeah.
I mean, it is tough. There's definitely been guys that have sat and benefited from sitting for a year.
Yeah.
And then there's other guys that have come right. I mean, I think that a guy like Trevor Lawrence would have benefited, but I think it's because Trevor Lawrence will set up the fail because Urban Meyer's. You want to talk about a clown show? Urban Meyer is one of the worst coaches that guy could have had. I told Jacksonville fans before the season started, he will not make it through the year. He everywhere that he left a mess. Terrible. And their team is god awful. He would have benefited from them drafting him and letting him sit and then trying to build
maybe
before they got
keeping
him
Gardner
killed.
Minshew around for a little bit. I'm
But
one that likes the quarterback to sit for the first year or at least the first couple games, half a season. But in talks with a lot of people on Twitter, and there surprisingly there are some smart people on Twitter. Surprisingly, chopped it up with one homie who was talking about there aren't many success stories outside of Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes as far as quarterbacks that have sat that are starting today. So the past 10 years kind of shows you that it's either the guy or it's not the guy. So if it is the guy, maybe he does deserve to start. But I just like to have some kind of a backup plan. I go back all the way to Eli Manning when we had Kurt Warner, and I think it was 6 games or 7 games into that season, I think it was 6 games, they end up starting Eli Manning. But at least you have that veteran presence there. And I think a lot of people aren't talking about this enough, too. 2019, can't forget that Eli Manning was in that locker room with Daniel Jones in his best season ever.
Yes.
So that's something to think about, too.
Yeah, that's a great point. He had Eli Manning to learn from. And once Eli Manning was there, and it was all on him, and he had nobody, he wasn't going to go to Colt McCoy. He certainly wasn't going to go to Mike Glennon. That's a great point. He did not have a mentor anymore. But, I mean, to me, yeah, you could probably bring in a stopgap for a year. Yeah. I remember when Chris and I started the show, and we talk about this a lot. We started that show in the middle of 2018, and I still say this, that Chris and I were the first ones to start these talk shows, a weekly thing. I don't remember content creators doing that in 2000.
Yeah, me either.
We were one of the, I think we were the first ones to do it. At least that I know of.
At least that I know of too. I mean, y'all the OG goats when it comes to this Giants content stuff for sure.
But when we talked about, I talked about bringing in Teddy Bridgewater as a stopgap and drafting Justin Herbert. Chris and I loved Justin Herbert. Did not think he'd go back to Oregon for a senior year. That was the guy we wanted, but I did. I talked about let's bring in a guy like Bridgewater as a stopgap. You let Herbert sit there. You have Herbert for the future. So it would not hurt my feelings if they did bring in a guy like a Jacoby Brissett for a year or a couple years where he starts and then you get your quarterback. You have your quarterback. He sits and then you reverse and you have the guy as a backup. Your stopgap becomes your backup where he's actually a legitimate NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
That could also work too because you will have more cap space in 2023. They will get out from underneath a lot of this. They can actually get rid of Leonard Williams in 2023 because I believe he also got just 3 years and they front loaded it. So his cap hit wouldn't be as bad in 2023 if they decided to release him. So they'll have and Daniel Jones comes off the books. Saquon Barkley comes off the books. So you're going because they're not going to get Barkley's not going to get another contract here. I can't imagine unless he was really cheap. Jones ain't going to be here in 2023. So there's a lot of things they can do. And again, we just have to hope that whatever this regime is that comes in, they're the ones making the correct decisions. They do it the correct way. Yeah. Whatever they see, whatever their vision is, it needs to be correct. Dave Gettleman, I don't know what the hell his vision was on fixing the old line, and he never did it.
It never did. Yeah.
So we can't have that. We can't have these guys coming in and go, we're going to focus on this, and then they're going to draft, whatever, wide receivers or tight ends or whatever that has nothing to do with what we need. I mean, if the Giants want to go lineman and Nakobe Dean, that's not going to kill me either. Nakobe Dean is a beast. We need linebacker help bad here.
Bad.
So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that they can do. If they go quarterback lineman, I'm fine with it. They go 2 linemen. That's really what I want. I'd be really happy. If the defensive end fell down there and they took if Thibodeau fell down there or Hutchinson, I don't think they will, but if they did and we took them in the alignment, I'd be happy with that too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
want to bring in some really good talent on this team. I mean, there's a lot of departments that are lacking right now. And I think it's important to just bring in some identity players, like we don't have any identity here at all. And I think it's important to get players like that, which kind of, missing on Parsons, really that one, it stings a little bit in hindsight because that's a guy that could be a identity piece for the New York Giants.
I wanted Micah Parsons in the worst. I wanted Kyle Pitts. That was really the guy that I wanted.
Yeah, you did want Kyle Pitts.
I loved Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts had a big year, but he wasn't gonna fall to us, and I knew that.
Yeah.
So when there was one video I did about Micah Parsons when they mocked him to the Giants, and I'm like, listen, I did mention Lawrence Taylor just because they were the same size.
Yeah,
that was it. But
Giants fans hate that too.
They're not the same. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to tell you today. You got to play the troll game a little bit.
You do.
Got to play the troll game. I was trolling. Got to play it a little bit. A little bit. You just got to play a little bit. I just, for you guys who don't know, Chris mentioned something about Micah Parsons and Lawrence Taylor laughing about it because they joked. And I said, who is Micah Parsons? Joking around.
Yeah.
You know, and then it goes, he's the guy with 13 sacks. Got to do this. Like, you got to play the game. Just it's time to rag him down a little bit. We got to give down some shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very sarcastic. So
Nah, I knew off the bat. That's me. I'm almost on the opposite end of that. I'm like, I sense the sarcasm, but I kind of gotta let it be known here. You know, like we are judging a guy in his first year that
he had a
completely out, man.
He had a phenomenal rookie season. He's a beast. He's an absolute stud. He really is. He is an absolute beast. All pro his rookie season. Amazing. Great player. I mean,
we need a guy like that, man. We need a TJ Watt, you know, a Parsons, you know, a Bosa. We just need one of those guys that's a threat. Yeah.
And who cares if they got a little off the field? Lawrence Taylor wasn't no say. You think anybody care what Lawrence Taylor did off the field?
Not one
bit.
Not one bit.
No. You think anybody cared Lawrence Taylor fell asleep in meetings? No. You know why? He showed up on Sunday. Yep. I only care what the guys do from 1 o'clock to 4:30 or from 4 o'clock to 7:30, whenever the hell they play. Yep. That's when I care about them. That's the only time that they're affecting my life is when I'm watching that game. Because whatever the hell they do on Tuesday evening, whatever the hell they're doing right now, I don't care. Right. It got nothing to do with me.
It's important to have the structure in your organization, too, to be able to keep those players in check. You know, I look at Antonio Brown as a good example of this. When he was in Pittsburgh, you didn't hear about too many problems going on with him, even though it's very clear that he's a super hothead, right?
Yes.
And then you see these things with these other organizations, with the Raiders, and now with the Bucks coming out. I almost look at it like damage control, you know? Like, you got a player that can do things like Antonio Brown can do on the football field. I mean, just go look at that guy's stats in the last 10 years. They are off the chart. Right? But you got to have those people in the organization that are going to be able to keep a guy in check like that. And I think with the New York Giants, the whole Odell Beckham fiasco, I mean, everything that went down with him from the thing overseas in Paris where he had the drug paraphernalia out, the interview with Lil Wayne about Eli Manning, you know, all the stuff on the side, the field goal net. You got to have somebody who can control this kind of damage with a player like that because their productivity is very important to a team's wins, and it is the NFL. I'm the kind of guy that's like, I really don't care about the character flaws. As long as you ain't out here Jake Brown beating your wife and then getting a contract, I'm good with it. As long as you're a free person in society and you're not doing nothing crazy, I'm okay with it. You know, a little bit of off the field issue here and there, I don't got too much, you know, problems with that. But then when you allow it to become a thing now where the media takes it and then now they can spin that and influence fans a certain way, I think it becomes a problem and it shows the weaknesses of the organization.
Yep, great point. Great point. Tutto, grazie, paisano. Me and my brothers have been harassing, bullying, and beating up all birds kids since we were 5, 6, and 7 years old, collecting taxes and fees from all birds in Jersey since elementary school. Tutto hates the Eagles.
He hates them.
He can't. I didn't think anybody could hate him more than me, but he does. Puts my hate for them to shame. Like he's beating them down. I verbally beat him down.
Yeah.
That's it. Baddog the GOAT. Thank you so much for the super chat. It says best stream on YouTube. Appreciate it.
Facts.
I appreciate that. I forgot what I was going to. Oh, so I said this the other night on Talking Giants. Let me know what you think. When they traded Odell Beckham, and the first video, now I got rid of a lot of my old videos. I got rid of all those trash talking videos where I was just going after people.
Yeah.
Where I was insulting people and all this stuff because I didn't want it on the channel. I have some of them trash talking videos on a backup channel. You ever want to go watch them? I'll give you the channel. You can watch me destroy people. Because you want to watch me destroy EDP? All you got to do is put in Baddog EDP. That's it. And watch me absolutely verbally mangle him. Okay? I'm a good trash talker. I always have been.
Facts.
I always have been a good trash talker. And now I forgot where the hell I was. Oh, the first video I have on this channel is talking about trading Odell Beckham. Mm-hmm. I say the first video, and I said this after we lost to Dallas. I said the Giants should look at trading him because I said at the time he was going to make a ton of money. He didn't get paid yet. He's talking about trading him. I talked about trading him to Cleveland. This is March of 2018. I said they should trade him to Cleveland for the simple fact he was going to get a lot of money, and I felt like we needed to fix other areas. However, I did come out either the next year, and I've always said I felt like he was going to end up back here. Do you think that's a possibility in 2023? Because he's under contract for another year. He's not going to get paid top receiver money in 2023. He would be a nice compliment He's a huge fan favorite. If he's not hurt, like if he's still producing, all things being equal, if he's the guy next year that he has been for the Rams,
yeah,
is it possible number 13 comes back here? I know you'd be for it. I would be for it.
You know I would be for it. I think Odell Beckham is an incredible playmaker. The injuries have definitely sidetracked his career. I still don't think there's no chance that he would ever be a New York Giant again, just simply off the way that it went down. It was too interesting. And then the other thing is, how much money is a guy like Odell going to command?
But Gettleman's gone.
Gettleman is gone, but Mara's still here, and I'm sure Mara had a lot to do with that.
Okay, good point.
You know, he said something like in the most recent press conference, he said something about the GM and the coaches always make all the decisions as far as roster personnel and stuff like that for the New York Giants, and I just sign it off. So what does that say to me? He signed away his best player on offense, probably his best player on the team. Let's just keep it funky here. He signed away his best player. No problem. Right after they gave him $90 million, I don't think OBJ would ever come back to New York. I think he would welcome it for sure. But then I also think the other question is, how much money is a guy like that going to demand here? You know, what bracket of pay would he be in? We know he's not going to be in that top dollar kind of range anymore. But like, what does a guy like Odell Beckham demand? Maybe like what Golden Tate was asking for when he came here, 3 years, $30 million, something like that, $10 million a year. I mean, I'd be for it, but you know, I just don't think the Giants are going to go for it. I think they're trying to get rid of that whole old kind of thing that happened throughout this whole losing tenure the past like 10 years here, and Odell Beckham was a big part of that. And
he was, but he was also a big reason we won the games we did.
I mean, he was the reason. He's still one of my favorite players in the NFL. Love to see him doing well over there with the Rams, man. You know, putting up touchdowns, still looking like his old self. I just look at a lot of this is with my eyes, man. And I watched Odell Beckham, his documentary that he released before the season and whatnot. And it was showing his get back, you know, it was showing his training regimen and showing him running his routes with his trainers and things like that. And I'm like, yo, that's the guy y'all talking about is washed? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. And right now, at this point, I mean, we just spent the same kind of money on Kenny Galladay, and look at the productivity. It's been terrible.
Do you think Kenny Galladay's issues stem from Kenny Galladay, or do you think it stems from the play calling that they didn't even target him? Like they never even looked his way. Like he was not involved in the game plan whatsoever. Like the Giants do a lot of these curls and all stuff, and Galladay wasn't running those routes.
Yeah, he wasn't. You know, a lot of it has to do with the scheme for sure. I think Jason Garrett does not, that whole philosophy just doesn't yield well for a guy like Kenny Galladay. He needs those attempts and he needs those chances to
down the field.
Yeah, he needs it down the field. But I also think a lot of it got to do with Daniel Jones trying to protect his own bottom line, knowing that he can't continue to turn the ball over after what happened in his rookie season. So he's not willing to really throw up those 50-50 kind of passes to a guy like Galladay, and that's where he thrives. I mean, we can't forget, man, when Galladay led the league in receiving touchdowns, he did that half the season without Matthew Stafford at quarterback. He did that with David Blow at quarterback and another backup. I can't remember who the other backup was. I always forget his name. But he was doing that with no-name quarterbacks, right? The system kind of called for it, though. The Detroit Lions have never been a real running team. You know, I think Pat Shurmur's system would have helped with a guy like Kenny Galladay a lot better, you know, getting the ball down the field. But with, you know, with Jason Garrett, we saw it for 2 seasons, man. It just wasn't the kind of vertical offense that put up a lot of points on the board or helped out wide receivers for that matter. You even saw drop-off from guys like Darius Slayton as well. You know, Darius Slayton was a down-the-field threat his rookie year and became kind of pedestrian here this last season.
Right. Somebody said Beckham's a free agent this year. Did he get signed in 2018?
I think it was a one-year option. I think it was a one-year option. It was a new deal because he became a free agent before he signed with the Rams.
No, okay. That I didn't know. So
yeah, so the Browns contract, they were looking to trade him, and then they ended up having to just release him because no one was going to take on that contract that we initially made with Dave Gettleman.
Gotcha.
And they re-signed him, I think, to a one-year deal for like $10 million with an option, I think, or it was just a one-year deal. I can't remember.
Okay. Tutto, grazie, paisano, ragazzi. If any chance you guys come across boys with missing front teeth, you bet they've definitely had a taste of Italy. Certainly not the cannolis. You ever had a cannoli?
I haven't.
Man, get you a cannoli.
That face told me I need to have one.
Get you a cannoli. Who did?
No, I'm saying the face you just made when I gave that answer was like, bruh, you need to get your hands on some cannoli.
You need to have a cannoli.
All right, I'm with it.
It is amazing to me the amount of people that have not had a cannoli. You got no bakeries down there in your area?
We got some bakeries out here in DC, and I came up in Maryland a good bit too. We got some bakeries out here, but yeah, I just never had the cannoli.
Get your cannoli. That is your homework assignment.
It's on the bucket list.
I mean, get your cannoli. If you don't like it, that's okay. We can't be friends anymore, but that's okay. Ask Chris. Ask any Italian. It must be an Italian thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're amazing. They're amazing.
I don't even think I heard about cannoli until I was tuning into you guys, man. I think that was the first time I even heard that term. I mean, I live in Northeast.
Yeah, Chris and I went there. There's a lot of Italian New Yorkers, and so yeah, we end up talking about food a lot just because it's our thing. But when I first met my wife, I asked her the same thing. I'm like, you've never had a cannoli? I'm like, are you kidding me? You've been deprived. Have a cannoli.
When's the last time you've been to DC?
Never.
Never. So when you do get a chance, you should come out here next year for the Washington game, and I'll take care of you for sure. Make sure everything's taken care of. But when you do get out here to DC, you got to try some wings and mambo sauce. That's our staple out here in the city, and I'll definitely get on the cannolis for sure.
What is mambo sauce?
It's like a it's kind of like a barbecue sauce meets like a sweet and sour sauce with a little bit of ketchup mixed in the middle of it. It's like an Asian kind of carry out staple here in DC only, and now it's starting to be sold across the country. There's one mambo sauce company, I think it's called Capital Mambo Sauce, that they sell it now on like a bunch of different outlets in a bunch of different grocery stores and whatnot. But it's fire as well. When
you say wings, you have me regardless of what the hell you put on them. Pretty much. Pretty much. Raziel the Great says cannolis are fire. Look at that. Evan Spencer, cannolis are amazing. Zeppelis are also good. Zeppelis are also good.
Not two for the bucket list. That profile pic is fire right there too. I see you, bro.
I think we covered everything. I actually kept you a little bit longer than I wanted to, but listen, we got to do this again soon because honestly, man, I could sit here and talk for another 2 hours.
All day, bro. Like every time we chop it up, man, I'm just like, time flies by, man.
It really does. But again, it's almost midnight, so I don't want to keep it too long. We'll definitely do this again. Then again, in the offseason, I want to do more roundtables. Like I said, I want to work with more content creators, but you and I definitely got to chop it up again because I love doing this with you, man. Like I said, if you guys haven't done so, you definitely want to subscribe to my man, the Authentic and the Beard.
Help a brother out, man.
The link is right in the description. It's the first thing there. Click on it, sub them up. You guys will not be disappointed. They have a great show over there. I really like the giant overreaction on Mondays. It's just
that's been a hit, man. People love it. We double up on our streams like when I do the giant overreactions as far as attendance. People love that show.
Yeah, it's really good. Again, I work on Monday, so it's tough. But if I get an opportunity and I have a little downtime and I see that pop up on my notification, I'm going in there. I may not comment. Well, usually if I'm in there, though, I do because I'm like, what's going on, guys? But I don't always get a chance. And then I wanted to get on it a couple of times. I was on vacation week after Christmas. I was telling them off, but I ended up going to my mother's house that day, so obviously I couldn't do that. Mom's always has to come first.
Oh yeah, we'll make it work, bro. I promise.
Definitely. Baddog the Goat, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for subscribing to Authentic.
Appreciate
it. Listen, I appreciate we had a great crowd in here, guys and girls. We had almost 550, 560 people most of the night. Really appreciate all the donations, all the great questions and everything else, guys. Mike Clark just subbed. Whoops, there you go. Appreciate you guys subbing up. Like I said, you will not regret it. And as always, I appreciate all the support you show on my channel, have shown on my channel for all these years. The Giants are such a freaking train wreck, and that's why I think our fan base is the best. I've been on YouTube a long time, much longer than the videos go back. I went back to 2007 here. I was on here from 2007 to 2009. I started back up again in 2014, and I have seen fan bases completely disappear when their team is terrible. You guys and girls never do that. If anything, this fan base gets stronger. There's been more Giants content creators come out than any other content creators that I've seen.
Yeah.
And we're the worst team in football in the last 5 years. It tells you all you need to know about this fan base. We may not always agree, but I swear to God, man, we are the best. We are the most loyal
to the soil, man.
Without a doubt. You know, so again, Authentic, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Anything else to say before we head out?
Yeah, man, just, anybody who subs, man, help a brother out. We definitely would appreciate that, man. I do feel like our channel deserves a lot more attention over there. We're doing a lot of great things over there. It's high quality, like I said before. And lastly, one little thing for you, Bad Dog. We talked about this on the last stream that I was on with you, that when we get old and we retire, we're going to have a channel where we just play Nintendo and stuff like that and just kind of chill out. Remember that, right?
Definitely.
Now, my girl got this thing called the Retro Box for Christmas. It's loaded. It's got every Super Nintendo game, every Nintendo game, Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, every arcade game. I've been running through some oldies, some Double Dragon. I've been running through some the Turtles arcade game, the Simpsons arcade game.
Nice.
So definitely get your hands on a Retro Box, man, so that when we do retire and we chilling like a villain, just feet up, playing some Nintendo, we could do that together, bro. You already know.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's my cup of tea. There's no doubt about that. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. For Authentic, it's a bad duty. Dizzle, Baddog to GOAT. Thank you again. I appreciate it. He says, I'll be here to watch that.
Facts, bro.
Have a good night, everybody, and take care. We go.